Have you ever watched your trading account slowly bleed away, despite spending countless hours analyzing charts and executing what seemed like perfectly timed trades? What if I told you the missing ingredient isn't some complex strategy or expensive indicator, but something you already possess, yet rarely exercise? Today we're diving deep into what Richard Wyckoff, one of the greatest market pioneers, discovered was the true secret to consistent profitability: the art of patience. The forgotten virtue that separates the amateur from the professional, the temporary player from the market veteran. Has this ever happened to you? You spot a potential setup, hesitate for a moment, then watch as the price explodes in the direction you anticipated. Frustrated by missing out, you jump into the next trade without proper confirmation, only to get stopped out almost immediately. Then another and another. Before you know it, your account is down 10% and your confidence is shattered. This destructive cycle isn't unique to you. It's the most common trap awaiting every trader who enters the market. The illusion that more activity equals more profit has claimed more trading accounts than any market crash in history. Wyckoff discovered this truth over a century ago, yet it remains the most overlooked aspect of trading psychology today. While most trading courses focus on entry tactics and technical indicators, they rarely address the psychological discipline required to wait for the perfect moment, that sweet spot where risk diminishes and probability rises dramatically in your favor. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach the markets. I'll be sharing specific techniques Wyckoff used to develop almost superhuman patience, while other traders around him succumbed to emotional impulses. Think about your most successful trade. Chances are it wasn't forced. It probably felt almost effortless. The setup was clear, the confirmation was obvious, and executing the trade felt like the most natural thing in the world. That wasn't luck. That was alignment between market conditions and your strategy. The very essence of what we're discussing today. What many don't realize is that patience isn't passive. It's an active form of preparation. While the impatient trader jumps from setup to setup, the patient trader studies, observes, and waits for that perfect alignment. It's during these seemingly inactive periods that the greatest trading insights emerge. Wyckoff would often sit for weeks without taking a single position, confounding his colleagues who mistook his restraint for indecision. The irony of trading success is that the less you trade, the more you typically make. This counterintuitive truth is what separates the professionals from the constant strugglers. In a world obsessed with activity, the disciplined inactivity of the patient trader appears almost radical. What makes patience so difficult is the market's constant invitation to action. Every price tick, every candle formation seems to whisper, "Now is the time." The screen never stops, moving, creating the illusion that opportunities are endless and fleeting. But Wyckoff understood that true opportunities, the kind that build fortunes, are rare and precious. If you found value in these trading insights, hit that subscribe button to join our community of disciplined traders. I share content like this regularly that dives deep into the psychological aspects of trading that most channels never touch. What transformed Wyckoff from an average market participant to a legendary figure was his revolutionary understanding of waiting as a strategic advantage. While his contemporaries frantically traded every market movement, Wyckoff was orchestrating a different approach altogether, one where capital preservation became the foundation of wealth accumulation. The greatest profits, he often remarked to his students, come not from how many trades you make, but from how precisely you time the few that truly matter. This mindset shift represents the hidden truth behind every successful trading career. When you examine the journey of market masters across generations, you'll notice their biggest wins didn't come from constant activity, but from those rare moments when everything aligned perfectly. Think of patience like the archer who draws back the bow and holds it, muscles trembling, eyes focused, waiting for that perfect moment when the wind calms and the target stands clear. This tension, this deliberate restraint, is anything but passive. It's perhaps the most active state a trader can embody. What happens behind the scenes of a patient trader's mind is fascinating. While appearing inactive to others, they're engaged in a profound form of market intelligence gathering. They're building a mental database of price reactions, volume patterns, and sentiment shifts. This contemplative state allows for revelations that the busy trader, caught in the frenzy of execution, simply cannot access. Wyckoff's journals revealed something remarkable about these waiting periods. He noted that his clarity about market direction increased dramatically during times when he wasn't positioned. The emotional attachment to being right disappeared, and in its place emerged a pure, unfiltered perception of market reality. This emotional detachment became his greatest decision-making tool. The transformation happens when you realize that doing nothing isn't the absence of strategy. It's often the strategy itself. Market conditions cycle between periods of opportunity and periods of obscurity. Having the wisdom to recognize the difference is what Wyckoff considered the ultimate trading edge. Consider how this impacts your own trading journey. Those times when you felt compelled to act despite uncertainty weren't moments of opportunity, they were tests of character. The market constantly examines your discipline, your willingness to wait until the odds truly favor your approach. Most fail this test repeatedly, never realizing they're sabotaging their own success. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining what happens psychologically when traders finally embrace this waiting game. What internal shifts occur when you stop seeing the market as something to be conquered daily and instead view it as a flowing river that occasionally offers perfect crossing points. This perspective completely reshapes how you interact with price movement and ultimately how you preserve and grow capital. If you're finding yourself nodding along as I speak about the power of strategic waiting, write "patient hunter" in the comments below. I'm curious how many of you have already discovered this principle in your own trading. The psychological metamorphosis that occurs when you embrace patience is profound. It's like discovering a hidden dimension of the market that remains invisible to the impulsive majority. But this revelation comes with a sobering truth. The market is perhaps the most unforgiving teacher you'll ever encounter. Wyckoff documented countless cases of brilliant minds who entered the market with impressive academic credentials, only to be systematically dismantled by their inability to wait. Their downfall wasn't due to poor analysis or inadequate strategies. It was their compulsion to act when the market offered no genuine opportunity. It's as if the market possesses an almost supernatural ability to detect and punish impatience. Think about this illuminating metaphor that Wyckoff shared with his closest students. The impatient trader stands before a tidal wave with a broken surfboard, convinced they can conquer it through sheer will. This image perfectly captures the futility of fighting market timing. No amount of skill, capital, or conviction can overcome poor timing. The wave doesn't care about your strategy. It follows its own rhythm, and you either align with it or get washed away. What's particularly intriguing is the perception shift that happens when you fully embrace this principle. Wyckoff's contemporaries often misinterpreted his periods of inactivity. When he would go weeks without initiating a single position, they assumed he had lost his market edge or enthusiasm. Behind the scenes, however, something extraordinary was happening. These waiting periods were actually his most intellectually active times. He was coiling his mental and financial energy like a spring, gathering tension that would be released at precisely the right moment. This approach completely inverts the conventional trading mindset. Instead of constantly deploying capital in small, ineffective increments, he accumulated both insights and emotional resolve until the perfect opportunity appeared. The breakthrough in understanding comes when you realize that these periods of apparent inactivity are actually the foundation of spectacular performance. The insights gained during patient observation allow you to strike with remarkable precision when conditions finally align. It's the difference between the amateur who throws darts blindfolded and the professional who waits for the perfect moment to execute one precise throw. This journey toward mastering patience transforms not just how you trade, but your entire relationship with uncertainty. Most people feel compelled to act when faced with the unknown. They mistake motion for progress. The disciplined trader, however, has evolved beyond this primitive response. They've discovered that embracing uncertainty, sitting with it, and allowing it to resolve naturally often leads to the clearest possible trading signals. Let's look at how this principle manifests in actual market behavior and the specific patterns Wyckoff identified that signal when patience is about to be rewarded. These signature moments in market structure reveal the internal mechanics of institutional money flow and provide the patient trader with extraordinary advantages. If you've ever experienced that moment of clarity that comes after forcing zero trades during a choppy, directionless market, type spring-loaded in the comments. I'm curious how many of you have felt that coiled energy ready for release at the perfect moment. One of the most enlightening discoveries in Wyckoff's journals was his recognition of boredom as the ultimate test for traders. This revelation transforms our understanding of what truly challenges us in the market. It's not the complexity of analysis or the fear of loss that defeats most traders. It's the simple inability to do nothing when nothing should be done. This insight unveils the hidden obstacle in every trading journey. Our minds aren't naturally wired to embrace emptiness or inactivity. We crave stimulation, action, and the dopamine hit that comes from making decisions. The market exploits this psychological vulnerability perfectly. During periods when genuine opportunities are scarce, the bored trader begins to see patterns that aren't there, creating an illusion of opportunity where none exists. For more trading wisdom like this, that goes beyond technical analysis and into the mindset of successful traders, consider subscribing. Each video explores the deeper principles that transform ordinary traders into market masters. What's particularly fascinating is how the mind rationalizes this behavior. Wyckoff documented this process meticulously in his students. As boredom intensifies, traders unconsciously lower their standards, convincing themselves that mediocre setups are actually promising opportunities. They rebrand their impatience as intuition or a gut feeling, elevating emotional impulse to the status of strategic insight. The aftermath of these decisions reveals the brutal truth. When these forced trades inevitably underperform, a remarkable mindset shift occurs. Instead of acknowledging their impatience, traders construct elaborate narratives about market manipulation, unexpected news, or technical glitches. This deflection serves as a protective mechanism, shielding the ego from confronting the real issue, lack of discipline. The breakthrough in Wyckoff's approach was recognizing that patience isn't just a trading virtue, it's the foundation of control. This realization completely reframes how we understand market mastery. The patient trader isn't merely waiting for opportunity, they're demonstrating profound control over the most destructive trading emotions: fear, greed, and the need for constant validation. Consider the revolutionary perspective this offers. Most trading education focuses on controlling the market through indicators, patterns, and systems. Wyckoff inverts this completely. He recognized that the only thing truly within your control is yourself. The market will always do what it does, often in ways that seem designed to confuse and mislead. Your only sustainable edge comes from controlling your response to it. This self-mastery dimension of trading represents the deepest level of market wisdom. Wyckoff insisted that mastering trading is ultimately mastering yourself. Each price movement, each apparent opportunity or threat serves as a test of your composure and commitment to discipline. The market seems almost deliberately constructed to challenge your patience at every turn, revealing weaknesses in your psychological armor that you might not even realize exist. Let's explore how this principle manifests in specific market conditions, particularly during consolidation phases when patience becomes most challenging yet most rewarding. These periods of compression often precede the market's most dramatic movements, making them crucial junctures for the disciplined trader to recognize and respect. If you've ever found yourself making trades out of boredom rather than genuine opportunity, type "patience warrior" in the comments. I'd love to know how many of you are battling this common challenge on your trading journey. Consolidation phases in the market reveal a striking contrast between professional and amateur trading approaches. This distinction creates one of the most illuminating revelations in market psychology. During these periods, when price compresses into tight ranges with decreasing volatility, amateurs and professionals behave in completely opposite ways, creating the perfect conditions for wealth transfer. Wyckoff documented this phenomenon extensively in his market observations. While amateurs react emotionally to every minor fluctuation, professionals wait with deliberate precision for specific conditions to materialize. This patience-based advantage compounds over time, creating an almost insurmountable edge for the disciplined trader. One particularly powerful example Wyckoff shared came from his observation of a major manufacturing company building a base pattern over several months. During this accumulation phase, he watched with fascination as impatient traders repeatedly entered and exited positions, each convinced they had identified the perfect moment to act. Each premature entry was met with a reversal, slowly bleeding away capital through stop losses and emotional fatigue. Meanwhile, Wyckoff remained entirely in observation mode, studying the subtle shifts in volume, the testing of support levels, and the character of each price reaction. When the genuine breakout finally occurred, confirmed by substantial volume expansion and decisive price action, he entered with conviction, while others had already exhausted their capital and emotional reserves. This experience crystallized a profound insight. The difference between market success and failure often has little to do with analytical skill and everything to do with response management. This realization completely transforms how we understand trading mastery. The professional's edge isn't superior information or faster execution. It's superior patience. The metaphor that best captures this distinction is that of hunting versus chasing. This comparison illuminates the fundamental mindset difference between consistent and inconsistent traders. Impatience fragments your focus, turning what should be a deliberate hunting process into frantic chasing activity. The hunter operates from a position of quiet strength. They understand their prey will eventually appear, so they position themselves strategically, minimize movement, and wait for the perfect moment. The chaser, by contrast, constantly pursues shadows, wastes valuable energy, and typically returns empty-handed despite expending far more effort. This metaphor reflects a deeper truth about market engagement. Building wealth through trading isn't about maximizing activity, it's about optimizing timing. It comes from stalking opportunity with patience, moving in silence, and striking with precision when conditions align. This approach represents a complete paradigm shift for most traders who have been conditioned to equate activity with productivity. What makes this revelation so powerful is how it applies across all time frames and market conditions. Whether you're a day trader watching minute charts or a position trader analyzing weekly patterns, the principle remains unchanged. The patient hunter consistently outperforms the reactive chaser over meaningful time periods. Let's examine the specific psychological triggers that cause traders to abandon patience precisely when they should be embracing it most. These triggers often manifest right before significant market movements, creating the perfect trap for the unwary trader. If you recognize yourself as more of a hunter than a chaser in your trading approach, type strategic hunter in the comments. I'm curious how many of you naturally gravitate toward this more effective market approach. The psychological triggers that destroy patience often peak right before significant market movements. This timing isn't coincidental. It's a fundamental market mechanism. Before any major move, markets typically experience decreased volatility, unclear direction, and extended consolidation, precisely the conditions that test patience most severely. This represents one of trading's greatest paradoxes. The moments requiring the most patience often precede the opportunities that reward it most handsomely. What Wyckoff discovered through decades of market observation was a profound revelation that transforms how we think about missed opportunities. There's truly no such thing as missing a move. There's always another opportunity. If you're patient enough to wait for your specific conditions, this insight liberates traders from the destructive fear of missing out that drives so many impulsive decisions. The pivotal breakthrough comes when you clearly define what your ideal setup actually looks like. This represents the hidden challenge most traders never overcome. They wait impatiently, but without clear criteria for what they're waiting for. Wyckoff insisted on developing specific, objective conditions that make a trade valid for your personal approach, whether it's a break of structure, a test of an order block, or a retest of a key level. This clarity creates a remarkable mindset shift. When you've defined precise criteria, waiting no longer feels like wasted time. It becomes an integral part of your strategy. The trader with undefined criteria experiences waiting as painful emptiness. The trader with clear conditions experiences it as purposeful preparation. Same market, completely different psychological experience. What's particularly fascinating is how this principle extends beyond entry decisions. One of Wyckoff's most valuable insights was recognizing that patience applies equally to position management. This revelation completely transforms how we think about trade execution as a whole. Many traders develop the discipline to wait for perfect entries, but then abandon that same patience the moment they have capital at risk. The anxious exit represents one of the most common yet least discussed trading mistakes. Wyckoff observed countless traders who would patiently wait for ideal entries only to snatch tiny profits immediately, driven by the fear of seeing gains evaporate. This premature harvest typically occurred just before the substantial move they had correctly anticipated, but lacked the fortitude to capture. This pattern reveals a fascinating psychological asymmetry. The patience required to hold a winning position often exceeds the patience needed to wait for the initial entry. When capital is committed, emotional investment intensifies. Each price fluctuation against your position feels magnified, creating an almost irresistible urge to secure whatever profit exists, regardless of your original analysis. The transformative insight is learning to distinguish between normal market noise and genuine invalidation of your thesis. Holding through volatility when your underlying analysis remains valid is what converts merely good trades into exceptional ones. This dimension of patience what we might call conviction persistence, separates traders who make a living from those who build wealth. Let's explore the specific techniques Wyckoff developed to master both dimensions of patience, entry discipline, and position management, and how these approaches can be applied to modern markets with their unique challenges and opportunities. If you've ever closed a winning trade far too early, only to watch it continue moving in your favor without you, type "diamond hands" in the comments. I'm curious how many of you recognize this common pattern in your own trading journey. Wyckoff's techniques for cultivating patience reveal a crucial distinction that many traders overlook: the fine line between patience and stubbornness. This boundary represents one of trading's most delicate balances, and understanding it delivers a profound awakening in market perception. The market generously rewards patience while ruthlessly punishing arrogance, often within the same price sequence. The revelation that transforms trading psychology is learning to distinguish between waiting for a well-analyzed plan to unfold and simply clinging to hope. This distinction completely reframes how we interpret market behavior. The patient trader operates from evidence and analysis. They wait for confirmation before committing capital and remain positioned based on objective market behavior. The stubborn trader, in contrast, operates from emotional attachment to outcomes. They ignore contradictory evidence and remain positioned based on what they want to see happen. What makes this distinction particularly challenging is how easily one morphs into the other. A position entered with disciplined patience can unconsciously transform into stubborn hope the moment your analysis is invalidated. This metamorphosis often happens beneath conscious awareness, which is precisely why Wyckoff insisted on establishing clear, objective criteria, not just for entries, but also for exits and invalidation points. The illuminating insight is recognizing that patience is fundamentally rational, while hope is inherently emotional. This realization completely shifts how you interact with open positions. The patient trader waits for confirming evidence that their thesis remains valid. The hopeful trader prays for miracles that the market rarely delivers. One builds wealth through discipline, the other destroys it through attachment. This principle connects directly to another dimension of Wyckoff's market wisdom: the recognition that timing fundamentally changes everything in trading. The market operates through distinct seasons, cycles, and moods that demand respect rather than resistance. This cyclical nature of markets creates a framework for knowing when patience is appropriate and when it becomes delusion. What's particularly enlightening is Wyckoff's radical perspective on market engagement. He taught that when conditions become unclear or unfavorable, standing aside is not just an option, it's a legitimate position. This insight represents a complete paradigm shift for most traders who feel compelled to always have capital at risk. The revelation that sometimes doing nothing is the most profitable decision liberates traders from the pressure of constant activity. The wisdom crystallizes when you realize the asymmetrical cost structure of trading decisions. Sitting out costs nothing but time. Forcing trades in unfavorable conditions costs both capital and confidence, two resources far more precious and harder to replenish than time. This recognition fundamentally transforms your relationship with market participation. Behind every successful trading journey lies this crucial understanding: the market will always be there tomorrow. Its opportunities are virtually infinite when viewed across an adequate time frame. This perspective allows you to approach each potential trade with genuine selectivity rather than desperate need. It's the difference between the shopper who needs to buy something today and the collector who waits years for the perfect addition to their collection. Let's examine the specific characteristics of market cycles that Wyckoff identified as the optimal hunting grounds for the patient trader. Those moments when restraint transforms from burden to advantage. If you've ever experienced that clarity that comes from stepping away from the market during unfavorable conditions, type wise withdrawal in the comments. I'm interested to hear from those who've discovered the power of strategic non-participation. The most revealing aspect of Wyckoff's market wisdom comes from understanding the profound emotional challenge of waiting. This dimension of trading psychology exposes a universal human vulnerability that transcends markets. Waiting, by its very nature, feels lonely. This isolation creates an almost unbearable tension that most traders simply cannot sustain, a psychological pressure point that separates the consistent few from the struggling many. What makes this revelation so powerful is how it contradicts conventional trading wisdom. Most traders unconsciously measure their success by frequency rather than accuracy. They operate under the flawed assumption that more trades create more opportunities to win, a fundamental misunderstanding of probability and capital preservation. This activity bias creates a perpetual cycle of overtrading that slowly but inevitably erodes even the most promising accounts. Wyckoff's breakthrough insight was recognizing that mastering patience begins not with market analysis, but with emotional mastery. This completely inverts the traditional approach to trading education, which typically emphasizes technical skills over psychological development. The truth that transforms trading performance is learning to identify and manage the specific emotions that destroy patience, particularly the insidious fear of missing out. The most practical tool Wyckoff developed for this emotional management was a simple yet profound question he would ask himself before every potential trade. Is this my setup speaking or my ego? This single question creates an immediate pattern interrupt in the emotional escalation that typically precedes impulsive decisions. It forces a moment of self-awareness precisely when it's most needed but least natural. This question illuminates the hidden motivations behind trading decisions. Are you entering because objective conditions align with your predefined criteria, or because your ego demands action, validation, or the relief of tension? This level of self-inquiry represents the deepest work of trading psychology, the willingness to confront your own motives with unflinching honesty. Beyond all the technical analysis, chart patterns, and market theories, Wyckoff discovered the most profound truth about sustainable trading success. Your biggest edge isn't your strategy, but your ability to wait for optimal conditions. This revelation completely reframes what constitutes a trading advantage. While most traders seek better indicators or faster execution, the genuine edge has been hiding in plain sight, the psychological capacity to wait. What's particularly enlightening is the concentration of opportunity that Wyckoff documented throughout his career. Great fortunes in trading typically come not from consistent small gains, but from a handful of significant positions each year. This opportunity distribution creates a fascinating paradox. The trader who trades the least often captures the most significant moves, while the hyperactive trader misses them despite constant activity. This insight provides a clear contrast between two trading approaches. While impatient traders burn capital chasing insignificant movements in unfavorable conditions, the disciplined trader conserves resources and prepares for substantial opportunities. The market doesn't reward those who act first. It rewards those who act correctly. This distinction completely transforms how you approach market engagement. Let's explore the practical methods Wyckoff developed to maintain emotional equilibrium during the challenging periods of waiting. Techniques that transform waiting from psychological burden to strategic advantage. If you've had that rare but powerful experience where waiting patiently for the perfect setup resulted in one of your best trades ever, type patient profit in the comments. I'd love to hear about those moments when discipline paid its greatest dividends. As we close our exploration of Wyckoff's timeless wisdom, I hope you've discovered that the path to trading mastery isn't found in more indicators or complex strategies. It's in developing that rare quality of strategic patience that most simply cannot sustain. The market has always rewarded those who understand this principle, quietly transferring wealth from the impatient majority to the disciplined few. If something in this discussion resonated with you today, perhaps recognizing your own struggle with waiting or identifying that urge to trade when nothing worthwhile presents itself, you're already ahead of most. Trading isn't just a financial journey, it's a profound path of self-discovery. I create these videos to build a community of thoughtful traders who value substance over noise, quality over quantity. If that describes you, consider becoming part of our growing community by subscribing. Each week, we explore these psychological dimensions of trading that rarely get discussed elsewhere, but make all the difference in actual results. If you've made it to the end of this exploration, type "patient prosperity" in the comments. I'd love to know who's committed to this deeper approach to market mastery. Your comment helps others discover this conversation while letting me know which topics truly connect. If you found value in today's discussion, that simple like button helps tremendously in sharing these ideas with others on the same journey. I've prepared a video that perfectly complements what we've discussed today. It explores Wyckoff's specific criteria for identifying those perfect setups worth waiting for. It's right here on your screen. Click and continue this exploration with me there. Remember, in markets as in life, it's not about constant motion. It's about precision timing. Until next time.